Welcome to our talk Venator, Hunting and Smashing Trolls on Twitter by Santiago Pérez Montaño and Mauro Eldritch from DC 5411. Before we start, we'll make a short introduction about ourselves and about the main topics of this talk. My name is Mauro Eldritch. I'm an Argentine hacker and the founder of BCA and DC 5411, which is the DEFCON group for Argentina and Uruguay. I spoke at DEFCON a couple of times before at different villages, and I spoke also at other conferences around the world, including many places. Now my co-speaker Santiago is going to introduce himself.
Okay. I am Santiago Pérez Montaño. I am a security engineer at the BCA. I am member of the DEFCON 5411 group, Argentina and Uruguay. I have the opportunity to give talks in different parts of the world, such as the Grey Hat in the United States, at the PostCon in Iran, and on digital self-defense or autodefensa digital in Argentina. Today I have the pleasure of being in one of my favorite conferences and in one of the most important hacking villas. I hope our talk is to your liking.
So this talk is about trolls. How their tactics work, how to identify them based on different behaviors and patterns they show, and how they turned social media into propaganda machines. We will explain a real case of a propaganda apparatus seen from the inside. This is something that we had been working on during the previous DEFCON, during the previous year, and we even published it on this same village, on the Recon village last year. Using a sort puppet account, we will be able to profile and analyze different members of this propaganda apparatus and show its results here. We will also try to profile ongoing campaigns that just happened some days ago. We will show different tools, not only to analyze but to combat these trolls, and among those tools there will be Venator, our tool. Just a little disclaimer, all the information that you will see here was obtained via legit means, via OSINT. And all the accounts which are going to be displayed during this investigation are anonymized. So no real usernames will be displayed, even if those belongs to a troll account, to a fake account, or whatever. And obviously we were not involved in anything illegal. So, now my partner Santiago is going to give you a brief introduction on the core concepts that we will use on this talk, and then we will be able to further advance and to see this propaganda apparatus from the inside and start analyzing it. So, Santiago, please go ahead.
Introduction. First of all, let's talk about what propaganda is. It is known as the set of means, methods, and techniques by means of which a message is made known, disseminated with the aim of attracting followers for its cause or influencing people's behavior. As such, propaganda has been used for primarily political, religious, social, or even military purposes throughout history. It is an important weapon of ideological struggles that uses all the media that are within its reach, from the traditional to the not traditional. It differs markedly from advertising and tries to push an agenda. In this talk, we will tell you how it uses daily in politics. What do trolls do and what are they? The objective of the troll on the internet is to sow discord, create confrontation, and in general annoy by diverting the conversation from other users and attracting attention to him. How do you do that? Leaving comments where you want to create conflict. It can be in social network, web page, or blogs that allow comments, forums, etc. Any online site where they can make a comment or chat live, as in an online game. It's a troll's playground. All you have to do is make a comment provocative enough that another user responds in a similar tone and follow the conversation on that line. In the end, the issue is distorted and the troll has achieved his goal, which is to have been the center of attention and caused an argument. Trolling can be more directed towards an entity, such as company or a brand, or towards a specific person. In this particular case, we are going to show you how the trolls act in favor of the political apparatus that is closely linked to a particular political party or ideology. And the trolls can leave in spam comments, fan cams, or any other material that when posted repeatedly could turn the thread into something unbearable to follow for legit commentators. Okay, how to detect them or how to spot them? It's simple, you just have to use Venator. Now, like, it's just a joke, or maybe not. The first thing we should look at an account is its profile picture. If it seems credible, yes, is that a person who claims to be. Then the numbers and the end of its user. Yet, yes, it is not exactly long and substantial. If what you post has coherence or simple publishes phrases or political attack. If you participate in discussions where controversial or trending hashtags are used. Behavior is vital. As is said in the presentation, this type of troll never work alone. Swan behavior, they never come alone because he works at groups. What is a propaganda apparatus? A propaganda apparatus is a system in detail created for a political, social, etc. What seeks to try to convince a sector that a new is true or simple to try to persuade that something is wrong and they simply misinform through the use of social networks or another type of communication channel. In this case, we have come to talk to you about the propaganda devices of social networks, particularly in the social network Twitter. As is publicly known, this network is flooded with trolls and bots to fulfill different purposes or missions that are assigned to it, at a certain time to try to make a trend in a particular country, depending on the country, how long it takes to become a trend. These devices are made up of real people, trolls, and bots. The best known cases are the Glapset in Russia, the 50 Cent Party in China, the United Front Department in North Korea, the Bolivarian Army of Trolls in Venezuela, and the Cyberca in Argentina. The propaganda apparatus is quick and massive interaction leading to fabricate trends. And depending on the country, how long it takes to become a trend. Why are social networks used? Because it is easier to be realized. You can write a message from any device which has the internet. The ability to lead a propaganda machine from within arm's reach without even taking 5 minutes. It's simply one of the greatest advantages that this type of people were dedicated to this run with. You can easily automate and delegate all kinds of functions within the trending topics. It is not expensive to maintain or create, but the only cost it has will be that of the internet service to access an account and give orders or simply execute them to meet your daily object. The big question, do social networks authorize these types of accounts and behaviors? Follow me and I will tell you in more detail on the next slide. In this slide, we can see which are the countries that suffer the greatest attacks from the propaganda apparatus, which have chosen to block IPs, thereby causing the trolls to be censored in some way, thus avoiding to a large extent the greatest dimension of attack of this nature. These countries include Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, Syria, and Pakistan. It doesn't mean that other countries do not do it as well, but that these are the countries that use it most frequently. Here we can see how the Peronist Party created a social network to try to fight against imperialism and establishment, but in reality it is an organizing network of attack with bots and trolls that focuses on social networks such as Twitter to launch its attacks previously mentioned. But the most surprising of all is that they coordinate from this type of social network to make more effective and massive attack, thus pretending to fulfill its objective and task. Worst of all, this type of propaganda apparatus is endorsed by Argentina's Minister of Culture, where only its military participates. Summarizing all this, we can see what a propaganda apparatus was, which are trolls and bots, where they come from, and what they are used for. I hope you draw your own conclusion to continue with the talk and to be able to understand even better this next stage of it. So, your country has a propaganda apparatus? Yes. Okay, let's take a look inside.
So, tracking trolls. In this new chapter, we are going to analyze at last a real case of a propaganda apparatus. So, a real case here is the Cyber K or K-Troop group. This is an investigation that started last year, and we were able to present it here at the Recon Village last year. So we don't want to repeat content from that previous talk. So in the next slides, in the next few slides, we are going to summarize a whole year of investigation. So try to bear with us because we are going to be a little bit fast-paced here. But the idea is to give you a context on how we got here. What are we doing actually here on this exact spot? So that context is needed. In case you want to see every detail, every single communication we had with this apparatus, every single thing we did, you can refer to our previous talk from the previous year. It will be linked on the GitHub repository for this talk, so you will be able to fetch all the information you need from there. This propaganda apparatus is Argentinian, so obviously all its communications are in Spanish. As a native Spanish speaker, I have translated all the communications in English, so you don't have to worry about that part. And aside from being a propaganda apparatus based on the Spanish language, it has another thing that makes it very particular, which is that this propaganda apparatus is composed of real users, real people, bots that are mostly Twitter bots dedicated to retweet and to spread, to broadcast certain accounts, and trolls. These are fake accounts, sock puppets, and so on. This propaganda apparatus is used to publicly retweet its leaders and to promote different hashtags that they have. Some legit users on Twitter reported that they have received invitations to join this apparatus. So that rang a bell on our heads, and we say, okay, how can we get that invitation for ourselves? How can we be invited there? So we decided to create a sock puppet account to get an invitation, to get this invitation. The sock puppet was created by hand. We had only used social engineering so far. We haven't used any tool. We based our sock puppet on pure observation. We just started looking at their hashtags, at the most promoted hashtags on the politics side of things. So we created a fake profile imitating the accounts that started broadcasting those hashtags. So we decided basically to be able to subtly merge between those accounts. So we tried to imitate them, to mimic them as much as possible. We used a really particular configuration for this account. For example, for the profile photo, we chosen a really popular picture of President Fernandez and Vice President Fernandez together. Most accounts on this propaganda apparatus featured that very same picture, so we say, why not? About the cover photo, while most of the accounts involved in these hashtags did have no cover photo, we decided to pick one for ourselves. But most of these accounts didn't feature one. So we chosen one of Vice President Fernandez from a couple of years ago when she was a president, giving a speech at Vélez Stadium. We started following the president, obviously, and some minister, and a few pro-government accounts that were run by real people. Some of them, or most of them, were journalists or different political analysts from different TV programs or talk shows. And on the description field, and on our own tweets, we started imitating their specific language and symbolisms that they were using. We are not specialists on linguistics or anything. We only used the Tutor API to monitor all their tweets, all their hashtags, and extract the most repeated words, forming a word cloud, which you can see here. Most of these words in Spanish are pejorative terms to refer to the opposition or to certain opposition leaders. So during the first hours of this sock puppet account, we raised around 100 followers in just a couple hours. We were only tweeting about their hashtags and using as much as possible their very same words. So in order to generate some, in order to generate certain affinity. After 3 days, somebody sent me a DM, and that was our invitation. And I have it here. As I said before, all the accounts, those that represent real people or not, will be anonymized, no matter what. This person says, hey buddy, we are making Twitter groups to install hashtags. Do you want to join? And I'm going like, okay, hey buddy, sure, what I'm supposed to do? Basically, you have to tweet the hashtags that we send to the group. And that's more or less, that's it. I was added to a group number 300 and something of Soldiers of the National Project. This group contained 50 people. This is an important detail. And on that group, people started talking about different things, but mostly they were briefings about a specific situation and a hashtag to broadcast regarding that specific situation. For example, this person says here, hey guys, Ariel Garbars is asking us to use Larreta is responsible. So, as you can see on the picture on the left, there's a briefing on this picture on green with Spanish text. It says a small briefing. Finally, it proposes a hashtag to be broadcasted to install this trend. this as a trending topic. Larreta in this case is the mayor of Buenos Aires City, and it's a member of the opposition. Ariel Garbars, as we discussed in our previous talk, is the leader of the propaganda apparatus. They don't hesitate on addressing him by his real name. As you can see here, and this is from a neutral source, getdaytrends.com, there were two hashtags proposed in that group, the number 2 and number 4. Both of these hashtags are fabricated trends proposed on these groups, as you can see in the picture, in the previous picture. And they made it to the top 5 trends in my country. Now, taking a look at another third-party source like Trendinalia, we can see that both these trends lasted for at least 12 hours straight. This allows us to say and to state that these interventions are highly toxic. They remain for almost half a day. Now, another person goes like this. I will translate once again. With Ariel Garbars, remember, the leader of this propaganda apparatus, we formed a group where he's the administrator and tells us what to publish and at what time, so we can get our trend to always be on first place. Once again, you see that they already assume what the consequences is going to be. So they are already sure that they will install this as a trending topic. And another one goes like, okay, yeah, it's like you say, we used to do the same long ago with the K-Youth. The K-Youth is the prototype of what is now the K-Troop or the Cyber Case. It's part of the same group of people. And they say, okay, you have to set a day and a time, and it's the best. So they are really used to do this thing. It's not something they are newbies at. Once again, certain slogans to be spread, as you can see in the blue picture and the purple one. And then WhatsApp chat, it's shared. Obviously, we entered to see how it's going to be like. But before jumping into the WhatsApp part, this is a screenshot from one of our Twitter accounts. Take a look at this. We have, according to our latest group we have found 350 propaganda groups on Twitter alone. As you can see in this picture on the left, we were invited twice to different groups. So they do not have a real tight control on who's on who belongs to each group. Each one of these groups holds 50 users, 49 plus one admin. And we can say that the total number of users in those groups is a little bit more than 17,000. That's quite a lot of users. And now, jumping into the WhatsApp side, as you can see, what the person sending the hashtag here, saying, okay, at 7:30 we are going to use this next hashtag, $buitre. The person sending this message with the phone ending in 8554, it's Ariel Garbars itself. As we can see in this group name, all groups are numbered. This is the 7th group, so there are at least 6 more. Each one of these groups is already full, and it has, at that time, 255 users, without taking the administrator into account. So, if we multiply these users, we have almost 2,000 new users. And if we wrap up all the users into a single operation, we have almost 20,000 users. But note that some users may be present, as it is our case, in different groups at the same time. So there may be repeated users. This is an estimated number, so we can say for sure. Now you might say, okay, 20,000 users, now that's a lot to fight back. Yeah, it's not easy, but there are some tools, not provided by Twitter sadly, but provided by third parties, that will allow you to block massively certain accounts, or for example an account and all its followers, or all people that have interacted with a certain tweet, for example liking it, and so on. We have these three alternatives that are pretty good actually. Sadly, Block Together is running, I don't know if it's running out of business or simply the project is going to be abandoned. I'm not pretty sure. It's something that it's happening just as we speak, I think. Megablock, for example, that says, okay, we'll let you nuke a tweet. It will allow you to block not only a person giving or writing a specific tweet, but all the people that interacted with it. Also, Twitter Blockchain, which is a third-party Chrome extension, works on a similar way. But again, there's nothing natively provided by Twitter aside from the silence or blocking functions. And they are used one by one, so you can block or silence one account at a time. So unless you are pretty good with the API and you know what your way around and you know exactly what you are doing, yeah, it's going to be a little bit complicated. So back to the analysis. Remember that we have this account which was invited, and with this invitation we gained two main things. First, we gained access to the group chats, which means that we have early access to the threads they are trying to install. And on the second hand, we have access to higher ranking profiles that otherwise we won't be able to see. Why? Because these higher ranking profiles in these groups are not involved in tweeting, are not involved in broadcasting these hashtags, in spreading this misinformation. They are involved only in coordinating the actions, so you will never see them tweeting about something. They will propose the hashtag but never say it aloud. So, having discovered this, I think that it's time to feed all this data into Venator. At last, Venator, hunting and smashing trolls as we promised. Venator is our open source tool to triage different accounts on social media. And when we started this investigation last year, the original Venator was a Lua script which was really rigid, really hard to maintain. It was a tool for which any change that we needed must be done multiple times in the source code. We didn't have anything quite tidy, quite organized, because we thought that Venator will be something disposable, something that we were going to use once or twice, or that will be bundled inside something else, maybe a framework or maybe another tool. But in the end, the reality is that we found ourselves using Venator on a daily basis. So we agreed that we had to rework all of this application from scratch. So this CLI tool that you see here became Venator RV, which is written in Ruby. And this newest release features web interface and API access. And since this one uses a database backend, we are able to keep track over the time for changes on different reputation triages that we are carrying on different accounts. And also it helps us to make formulas more elastic. We are going to use this tool, Venator, to profile one of the cyber case campaign that is actually ongoing as we speak. As we are recording this talk, this campaign just happened a couple of hours ago. So this is pretty fresh, pretty hot too. So our idea is to keep an eye on the most recent campaigns that we can share with you. So this happened on August 2nd and 1st. So pretty much this week. We're going to follow 3 hashtags. I'm not going to take the time into explaining each one of them because there's a long story of political rivalry here, so it's pretty hard to explain. These are one-sided hashtags. These are going from the official propaganda apparatus against the opposition and are the following. Iglesias misogynist, which is Iglesias is a parliament member. The fugitive and the stranded, which are references to 2 politicians. Pro smugglers. Pro, it's an old political party from the opposition, and they are calling them smugglers, basically. So we have selected 70 accounts, which are the first 70 ones to engage with all the proposed hashtags, or at least one of the proposed hashtags, given that no other account is there to fill this number, to fill these 70 ranks that we need. So before starting feeding this information, let's try to do some OSINT, some open source intelligence over those hashtags. How it started? Let's go with Iglesias misogynist. It's number 3. And look at the graph. On the graphic, you can see that it's making a plane. It just rised, skyrocketed, and then it maintained a certain number of interactions over the time. Here you can see it with more detail. It started, skyrocketed, and started trying to, and struggled a little bit after a couple hours to still remain between the most ranked trends. Now, how is it going? Look at this trend. Don't you see something strange? Trends do not normally skyrocket, then fall down abruptly. Something is amiss here. This indicates clearly that there was a coordinated action. Because it skyrocketed at first, it struggled to be maintained among the highest ranks of the trending topics, and also it reached the place number 1, as you can see here. And after a couple of hours, it just fell. It just absolutely fell abruptly. So this is a good indicator that somebody say, okay, start with this, and that also somebody say, okay, cut it out, finish with this. We are done with this. And it lasted for a good couple of hours. Now, what about the other trends? They were just bite and switch. They just started and automatically fell. Look about the other. This is the pro smugglers one. Look at the fugitive and the stranded. It lasted for a couple of hours, a little bit more than the last one, but it was more like a bite and switch. They started and automatically dropped it. Now, this is an analysis from Venator. We are interested in those trends that have the inspect button in red, because those are the market hashtags we want to follow. Iglesias misogynist has almost 2,000 interactions, and it's number 1st in the trends. But look at number 2. That means in Spanish, the life we want. It only has 110. Why so much difference? Remember that we have only subscribed 70 users to Venator. So, are you going to tell me that 70 users just shared Iglesias misogynist 2,000 times? That's pretty weird. Now, what about the pro smugglers? 60. This means that a couple of these accounts haven't engaged in that hashtag. Now, take a look at the other one, the stranded and the fugitive. 21 interactions. That's pretty few. And remember that users tend to tweet these hashtags more than once. So there's a high chance that a lot of people are just alone tweeting and retweeting this hashtag. And this doesn't represent, for example, 21 real users here. This can belong all to the same account. So as you can see, most of these hashtags, these strings, are politically motivated. But we can stop, due to a time constraint, we can stop to analyze each one of them. So let's keep going. Let's see this, details and distribution. This is a blacklisted hashtag. I blacklisted it myself in order to Venator to be able to analyze it. It was seen almost 2,000 times, as I said, on 70 users. And these are the users that share this hashtag the most. Look at the count column. One of them shared it 136 times. Other people shared it almost 100 times. Now, go ahead and tell me that this is not a coordinated campaign. Let's go ahead. Now, Venator identifies this user with this avatar, that it's a fake one. Now I will explain. Identified this user as the top distributor, and then other distributors follow him or her. Let's take a look at this user. But first, before making accusations so lightly, let's do a fast rewind and let's try to remember how to spot those trolls. I told you back then that this information will be important later, so now's the time. Default settings. Remember this. If you lack a profile picture, or if you are using a fake or stock one, or if you are using one that represents a celebrity or something else, Venator will take that as a negative score. Lots of numbers in your handler. For instance, if I had Recon Village 2788878, Venator won't like that. If you have a lot of numbers, that probably means that you haven't changed your default username given by Twitter. The platform, if your selected name is not available, will give you one, followed by a string of numbers. Remember that trolls share a common language, common terms and phrases. So if you tweet like a troll, Venator will treat you like one. Remember that they agreed to a common version to answer debates. So again, tweeting specific things will make Venator create a relationship between you and the malicious hashtag. And the swarm behavior. Remember that they never come alone. That's why Venator has a blacklist user follow check. You can blacklist different users, and we did. We did blacklist the leader of this propaganda apparatus, Ariel Garbars. So if an account is following him, this will take away points from its reputation. That's the idea, to start generating a network to see what are different aspects that can be dangerous to this social network, that can be toxic, that can be part of a collective effort to spread this toxicity. So let's check this user. Automatically, you can see that this avatar belongs not to this person. The person depicted here is the Vice President Fernandez with a political slogan. Then the risk score rises to the max. Highly suspicious behavior. But why? Just because this person thinks different than other people? No, it's not because of that. It's because all of this. Take a look. This person has joined it 3 years ago, so that's okay for Venator. It has more followers than followers. This doesn't take a lot of score from its reputation, but if you have, for example, 5,000 following and 0 followers, it will definitely take some score risk. It will absolutely add some risk to your score. If you divide the quantity of tweets by the quantity of years this account has been active, it gives us the idea that it has little activity. This won't take away score, but will raise a badge at the end to notify this. This is a non-verified user. This doesn't affect the final score, has low activity, has been involved in dangerous activity. Why? Because it has malicious hashtags and it has tweeted them more than the normal. You can have tweeted once using a hashtag marked as malicious, twice, or even 3 or 4 times. But going beyond that number will trigger Venator to start counting malicious attempts and adding different and taking different numbers of reputation from yourself. Also, this user follows our blacklisted user. So obviously all of this is really suspectful and doesn't seem normal at all. Now let's take a look at another profile, the number 2. So this will be the last one was the top distributor. This will be the second one. It has obviously a fake profile. This is Diego Maradona, the soccer player. The risk score is fairly high. And it's treated as malicious because this user has an outstanding activity. If you take a look, it is an old account, 4 years old. It has little difference between following and followers, but the account, if you divide this number, 70,000 tweets on 4 years, I can guarantee this gives you a lot of tweets, more than the normal, more than the average Joe will tweet on a normal day. So we have outstanding activity, and this outstanding activity, it's tied to tweeting malicious hashtags. So this is obviously a malicious effort. Again, we can easily see that this is not a real account. Now, a third one. As you can see, this lady here is our vice president once again. I think this is from a couple of years ago. So the risk score again is highly suspicious. But why? Look at this. This is an account that was recently created, less than a year ago. No, a couple, yeah, I think it's, yeah. So, it was recently created. It has just a few more following than followers, so this is not making up this score. But once again, it's using this account for tweeting in an outstanding way. It has an outstanding activity. In less than a year, this person tweeted 14,000 times. That's a lot. Also, it used different hashtags that were raised up as suspicious. In this case, he tweeted only once our blacklisted hashtag. But it also has a suspectful handler. This means that it has a couple of numbers. And it was recently created, so the score rised, and actually Venator was right. This is not a real account. This is not a real profile. Going to the next one, the fourth one. It says in Spanish something like "always by your side," and again, this is Vice President Fernandez. So risk score is fairly high. Again, it should be around in the order of the 60, 70, I think. I'm sorry. So this account is 11 years old. This definitely looks like a legit account, but the photograph is not real. Take a look at the badge below, which says default pictures. This means that either there's no background picture, no profile picture, or a default one, or a picture that was marked by yourselves as stock picture or fake picture or celebrity picture. So this will be automatically rendered as default picture. It will receive the same score penalty. This is the first case where the account has more followers than following, and that looks normal to Venator. Nevertheless, the score won't go down. Tweets, again, an outstanding activity, but only one of these hashtags were malicious. So moving forward, and here we have the best camouflage award. This is the Not My Damn Job award from this year. This guy absolutely didn't give any single F. He only left the default profile and started tweeting like that. So, I would like you to take a last look at this. At all this profile, at this fabricated trend, at all these fabricated users, and now tell me again how much you trust information on social media, especially on the politics side. Okay, it's time to say goodbye, sadly. Conclusions are that even if it seems obvious, always inform yourself through professional and verified sources. I know that they are not always available and they are not easy to get, but try. And just because a word or a phrase are trending, it doesn't mean that it is for real or that it represents the thinking of a majority. Remember that every day, somewhere, and sometimes people pay for this, groups of people and machines work together to install biased thoughts and debates in society. So that's why you should really choose verified sources. Because as you have seen before in this talk, just a few slides back, will you really trust whatever comes from social media? If you want to get in touch with us, we are available on Twitter. We're always happy to reach out, and if you have any questions or anything you want to share with us, projects or anything you're working on, you can find us here. And we are also available on GitHub if you want to clone this project or to take a look at the first investigation we did last year. Everything will be linked there. So if you have any questions, we are happy to answer them at the Discord server. Before we go, I would like to give a heartfelt thanks to Sandeep and his team for inviting us today. So take care, and we will be waiting at the Discord channel if you have any question.